It's
Extreme case of the Mondays.
OBS for beginners. But you know what? We can do this. That's why it's so nice to have a casual show that just doesn't really care too much. Steve was telling me one time he was watching some other show where like this guy was just vaping while the show was going
It was
on.
the VR spies.
Oh, okay.
I forget one, but they were doing a show, and his whole camera feed was just vape. And I'm like, man, I want to get to that level of like just not giving a shit, like and I mean it in a good way, not that like he just doesn't give a shit, but just like so cool and like just calm, being live and in front of everybody. I'm not quite like that yet.
Yeah, and the other thing with that too is like if you have like a real job and stuff, sometimes you got to be careful what you're doing online. Like I'm probably saying certain things online that I may end up regretting at some point in the future. I don't know. It's going to be crazy. But anyways, okay, so here we are. We've got trailer action. We got my video. We got Steve. We got audio for everybody. Okay, Steve is still too low. Okay, so I'll turn Steve up a bit. And yeah. Okay, so we're working with this. Alrighty, so let's see. What was the number one thing I wanted to get into? Well, why don't I go ahead and put Home Sweet Home in the trailer window, and we could talk a little bit about that. I barely scratched it. It is my little my YouTube thumbnail. Seems like I played Home Sweet Home for hours and know everything about it, and that is not the case. Barely scratched this thing. But Steve, why don't you start it off? Because I think you probably may have gotten a little deeper into it than I did.
Yeah, I think I got like an hour or so into it. I think it's gamepad only, so it's out on Steam, and it's been out on Steam for a while. And I think the VR patch came in early 2018, but it just wasn't aware of the game. And then they have it. They gave it to a different publisher, Mastiff Games, to bring it to PlayStation VR. And at the same time, they have this exclusivity thing where you can buy the disc version at GameStop. Why exclusively with GameStop, but whatever. This got it in the news and put the game on my radar. So it's all gamepad only. It is it plays a little bit like maybe Transference, not as cool, not as good as Transference, but a little bit a little bit of Resident Evil sort of vibe. You walk through it. It's got pretty good production quality, I think. The game has puzzles, and it's really, I should say, it plays a lot like Alien Isolation, and that was like one of the things. You literally hide in lockers and stuff from this. Instead of it being the what do you call it, a xenomorph, instead you get the this zombie chick that wants to stab you to death. It's a pretty cool little game. Now I think it's pretty expensive on PlayStation VR. Probably maybe more than it's worth because of whatever this deal they've worked out. But
yeah, it's $30, man. It's 30
yeah.
bucks on PlayStation VR, and I think on Steam it's like 16 or something like that.
Yep. So for 16 bucks, like the 1 hour I've spent with it, I can tell it's going to be worth it. 30, I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, so I've played it and I've barely scratched it, which is I say it all the time. It's like, go ahead, take your shots now. But what it is like I haven't seen combat yet. Is there any? Are you just running away from things? Like bottom line is you just need to get the F away from
Yeah,
danger.
it's stealth. Like she'll let out, like if she sees you or picks up on you, she'll let out this kind of screech, and it's a good screech. It's like it has this sort of like iconic sound to it that like once you hear it, like you know what it means and you know to go hide in something. So yeah, it seems to be stealth, very Alien Isolation, with some puzzles and some kind of stitching the story together through collectible things and stuff that you find.
When I first started playing it, I died over and over and over just in that first little 2 minutes where it first starts, right? Because you go into this one room, she's turned around, and then she turns around and looks at you. She goes psycho. She's like a zombie psycho lady that is coming after you. And then
She does the Linda Blair to you. Her body stays facing the other way and she spins her head around.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why your video goes like that. Oh, I screwed up. I accidentally got pop out chat off of there. Let me get that back. Okay. Every once in a while, your video turns into like Predator slash Transference, but oh well, we'll just ignore it. But yeah, yeah, you know, you run to that door, you open the door, and then it's all bricks, and then somehow another door shows up, and so you realize, okay, I need to go into that other door, and so I went into that other door, and then I closed that door, thinking, oh, maybe she won't be able to get into the room, and then she just opens the door, died a whole bunch of times, and then I finally realized that there's this locker there, and it says hide in locker or whatever, and that's a big part of this game. And when you do hide in the locker, one of the cool little effects that it does is like you're hiding in the locker, right? And you have to stand like really close to where the vents of the locker are. Like that's where you have to position your head. And the cool thing about that is when she comes by and is making crazy weird noises, and she's like literally inches away from you in those open slits walking by the locker.
It's just like, did you ever get that far in Alien Isolation? Because it's the exact same thing. You're looking through the slits and you see the alien go by and he's making all of his sounds. So it's very similar. And Alien Isolation is a very good game in VR, even though it's a mod. This does the same thing, and that's even though it may be copying it or whatever. It's good though. It's a good kind of imitation because it's a good feeling. It's a nice sense of suspense and fear. I think it's pretty cool. So
Yeah,
you gotta remember to turn your flashlight off. And I died on that part like 3 times. And I would get to the locker and she would open the locker door and just stab me in the face. And I think you gotta turn your flashlight off. I think that keys her into where you are.
yeah, the very beginning of this game, like if somebody has a PlayStation VR, I think this game is crazy expensive. But let's say you played through Resident Evil, you played Don't Knock Twice, you know, you played Paranormal Activity. There could be somebody on PSVR that is a real horror fan and they're into these kinds of games. And one of the nice things about the very beginning of the game is you're going through these hallways and you're turning on your flashlight. I played this standing up, even though it's a DualShock, right? There's no move support as far as I could see, is there?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was playing it standing up, and sometimes turning around, you know, physically turning around and playing it. And I kind of got that same Resident Evil feeling, especially with the flashlight. I did kind of feel, though, at times like you're already in a VR headset, and so you already got a scuba mask thing going on. And then I felt like there was almost like an additional scuba mask, but I don't know if it was just because of the darkness and stuff.
Yeah, maybe where the flashlight shines, and it's all face aim, so like where you look is where the light shines rather than having independent control, and that makes it feel a little claustrophobic for some reason. I felt similar, but Fluke said they're over talking about Wilson's heart, and
Oh, look at
that's
this.
still on still.
Steve is creeping into the window. Hello. Hey, you know, since I have you here anyway, were you at all surprised going back to the Oculus kerfuffle, the great Oculus kerfuffle of 2018? Were you surprised with Sebastian, his take on the Rift 2?
A little bit, because you know, and I'm in the middle, so like I think he might be just as much as wrong as say Gary is. But I think there's something there. Like I don't think like TechCrunch, if let's just take it in that direction. Like TechCrunch is a big enough site. Like they don't have any vested interest in making up a conspiracy about Oculus. If they're gonna lie about something or really sort of embellish about something, they're gonna do it with Apple or Microsoft. Something that's gonna get a far more interest from their readers than an Oculus story. So I think there's some truth to it. But the problem is we don't know what it was, and he seemed to be pretty convinced. And you know, I think it's one of those things that it did surprise me a little bit that he was so strongly convinced of it. But you know, we'll have to see how it plans out, because I personally think there's a little something there.
Yeah, I mean, I was just because I didn't think, like, even if you felt that way, it's kind of surprising that, oh my God, Brookhaven Experiment is $4. Like, just buy it now already. In fact, I might even buy this for one of my other Steam accounts just so it's like easily accessible.
You know you're not going to play it.
No, I love Brookhaven, man. I mean but it scares me. Brookhaven scares me, man. The sewers. Have you played through that at all, Steve?
I never beat it. You get through the sewer, and then there's one level um, after it that you're like standing right outside the sewer, and I couldn't get past that. No, I did actually. No, I did. I got to the level after that. It gets kind of hard, and I struggled with it.
Killing Floor Incursion for $9.89. Interestingly enough, this game doesn't have positive reviews on the HTC Vive. Mixed reviews for Killing Floor Incursion by Tripwire Interactive, but you can pick it up for $9. What do you think, Steve?
I think it might be people that are frustrated at the exclusivity. There's reasons to not like the game, but it's a good game. I think if you're the type of person that plays online cooperatively, it's a good game to do that with. So, what's its normal price? Is it 39?
30.
30? Yeah. At 30, at 30, I think it's a little high for me, but at $10, it's completely worth it. And I don't see why. There's a lot of games on Steam that get positive feedback. I don't see anything particular why that game would be panned, other than maybe the exclusivity issues. And we're just in a society now where people love to stick to their laurels and will pan a game or just not buy a game over, some politics or crap like that, which sucks. I just want to play games.
Robinson the Journey is $7.50. And it has mixed ratings. Wow. Robinson, I might buy that because you know what? Here's some shameful on my part. I never finished Robinson. I rented that. I gameflied it. And I didn't finish it, and I sent it back. Invisible Hours is $12. I mean, god damn, there's just tons of good things to buy right now.
Probably worth it.
Narcosis. Didn't you really like this? This is $6.80.
It's you got to have a stomach because it's all smooth walking. Which I think I played in early 2017, so it's been almost 2 years now. I guess I hadn't adapted the lead stomach, so I could only play it in about 30-minute burst. But yeah, if you have your VR legs, I think it's a pretty good game. I don't know. It's hard to think of where it would stand up right now compared, a year and a half later. But I thought it was good at the time.
Yeah, there is a lot of stuff on sale. Theseus is $5. It's a great time for somebody that is brand new to VR to come in. You know what I should probably do is like write a little article on VR game rankings about all these great deals. But it's funny because like I wouldn't even know to like check all of this. I would have no idea that there would be this many good deals going on so many different games. I mean, if I had to spend $100 on all these games that are on sale, I could get Primordian is on sale. It's $8. It's 60% off for Primordian, which I think Primordian, when you're just in that jungle and it's an avatar jungle, and when you first fight those guys that come after you, and it's like a John Woo movie, it goes slow motion, zzz, and dude, Primordian in brief spurts is a very impressive game for, brief spurts. Mm-hmm. Hey, here's some news. Zero Caliber VR now with Oculus Touch support. And so I will give this another try now that it actually has Oculus Touch support, because honestly, I was dropping my gun every other second. I was dropping clips. I don't know. I couldn't freaking hang with that.
Yeah, I don't feel like I fought the controls. I remember in the beginning of the game, it's trying to tell you how to do something, and it's showing Vive controllers. So I feel like they had the Oculus controls in there, but they just didn't have all the images and the descriptors and everything done. So maybe they it's a little more clear. But I didn't feel like there was controls issues. Now there are actual polish issues with the controls, but like it wasn't a case like with Doom VFR on the Rift or something where it was literally unplayable.
Yeah, no, it's playable. It's certainly playable. It's a bit janktacular, but I mean, I'm sure if you have a Vive, everything's fine with it. But I did feel like the controls were a bit off. You know, Oregon Quarter is 50% off. It's $12.49. Now you compare that to like Brookhaven being $4, and it seems expensive. But I'm a big fan of Oregon Quarter. For me, Oregon Quarter, I'm not going to say that Oregon Quarter is a great game, but what I am going to say about Oregon Quarter is for some reason that environment, just the whole, like it really transported me to another place. I felt like I was in another place, a very bleak, horrible, just a dreadful place, you know, a dreary place, like a real bad dream.
They did very good with that environment. And you can tell they were very limited as a development studio, or maybe it was just a guy or two. I'm not sure, but if they had money, if someone, you know, if Konami said, look, we want you to here's $5 million, make something really good, like I think they could flesh that out and that feeling and do something pretty amazing. You know, I couldn't help but feel playing the game. I liked it, but I couldn't help feel the financial and the, you know, the size of the studio in terms of how many people working for them. I felt all those constraints while playing it, but I think they got a good foundation.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it was just the vibe, man. The vibe was there. Okay, some people are talking about Primordian in chat. Paradise Decay says Primordian is a one-man show and ex-Blizzard artist. And, man, that guy, much love. He actually came on to our show one day. And I was just like, dude, you're killing it out there. He's working on, I believe, an Oculus Quest game as well, I'm pretty sure. Or he has an Oculus Quest development system or something like that. Main Fan says Primordian is weird, looks great, but feels weird. What do you say to that, Steve?
I'm kind of with Main Fan. It does. I have no interest to go back and play Primordian, and it's a shame because the first feeling you have is holy crap, this place is amazing. Graphically knocked it out of the park, which, to Paradise Decay's point, it makes sense. And it's an ex-Blizzard artist, you know, doing his thing. But the actual game, like it was something didn't hook me. Like there wasn't the melee didn't feel very good. And I'm not going to overlook that, but there didn't seem to be much point. Like, what was I doing? I was just kind of walking around aimlessly through the world, and it was missing something. And I don't fully know how to put my finger on what it was that it was missing, but something was just not there.
I think, okay, I'll tell you what it probably needs some more different creatures to battle. You got those main guys, you battle them over and over again, and the first time you battle those guys and it goes into that slow mode, that slow motion mode, and the sound goes crazy, it is incredibly intense. I mean, it's a super intense experience, but it's one of those things. You've killed about 10 of those guys. You've experienced it now. You know, now you're just doing it over and over again. And for me, it kind of always felt like I could just wail like this, and I decapitate them and they're dead. You know, and it just seems like, now I know they've made some changes. They've done some things. They've added another level. Chris Cox is saying they've added another level. Chris Gould says Primordian is a must buy. I still think it is a must buy at $8 from the standpoint. Phil Yarn says he's going to grab it for $8. Just purely like demo material. Like if someone's coming over to your house, there's not too much more impressive experience you could have in just like a 10-minute burst than walking through the Primordian forest and having one encounter. For somebody that's never had it before, never experienced it before, they're going to look at that jungle and everything, and then they're going to have this experience. It's almost like you're in a sci-fi movie. I think it's one of the closest, but you do get bored of it real quick. Yeah, so that's going to do it, guys. It, of course, has been another episode of VR Game Rankings Daily Vlog. Be sure to subscribe, like the video, all those kinds of things. Be sure to bounce over to VR Roundtable. Check out episode 101. We had Sebastian from MRTV. He has some controversial thoughts on that episode. I think it's quite interesting. So be sure to check that out. And Steve, thanks so much for joining me today. It was fun. This was cool. Even though it was crazy, it was super fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yep, that's what makes it fun. I like the relaxed atmosphere.
All right, yeah. So we'll have to smoke a blunt next time, like Elon Musk. All right,
Not
guys,
gonna
we'll
go
see
that
you.
far. See ya.